Hi guys, it's Roy from Bellados 3D here with the continuation of our stone well series. In the first part I created the high detail model of a stone well. In the second part I created a low poly version of the same well, and in the third part I took both wells into Substance Painter and combined the normal detail from the high poly mesh to the low poly mesh. And now in part 4 I will be texture painting that model. So let's get started. Okay, as you can see on the screen here, we have two main windows. On the left hand side we have our UV map. On the right hand of the viewport we have our 3D model. To the side we have a sidebar which contains various items such as our layers, texture settings, texture list and properties. And right down here at the bottom here we have our shelf which contains all our materials, brushes, filters, masks, etc. Okay, Substance Painter works a bit like Paint Shop with layers. So you take materials from here and put them into the layers and stack them on top of each other. Okay, so first things first, what I want to do is I want to create the stone base for this model. And this is quite a simple task. I'm going to keep it nice and organised by creating a folder. And I'm going to call that folder Stone Base. Not Stoner Base. And I think we need a base colour, a base texture for this. So I would say something like the Concrete Simple would be a decent base colour. Now obviously it's not going to stay like this. I'm going to layer on other materials and eventually it will look like a mossy stone. So first things first, what I'm going to do is, because at the moment it's covering the whole model, we don't want it to cover the whole model, we only want to cover the stone area here. So what we will do is right click the folder and we will add a black mask and everything disappears. If we click on that black mask we will have the polygon fill properties here, and make sure we are on mesh fill and that is all the way to white, and then we simply click on the area that we want to mask. And there we have it. It's now only in that area. Let's click on the material, Concrete Simple, and let's see what other options we've got here. First things first, I'm going to switch it onto a triplanar projection. That gives it a much better projection, less seams. It hides the seams a lot better, and you just get an overall better quality of texture. I'm going to change that to scale 3 times. No, I'm going to leave that at 1 and see how it goes. First things first, let's go down and click on the normal, get the normal details. For some reason the normal switched off on this this model. Let's have a look at dirtiness. Let's bring that, yes, I like that. We'll bring that all the way up like so. Yep, that's much better. Cracks, we'll give it maximum amount of cracks. That gives it a bit of a dirty. It's still not right though. It's still not quite there. So I'm thinking maybe another concrete over the top, multiplied to darken areas. So we'll bring a concrete and we'll drop that in on the top. Now obviously that just has gone down the bottom, so we just bring it on top. Obviously that completely covers it. So what we want to do is we want to switch the way it passes through the stack to multiply, so it just darkens it. And then what I will do is I will bring that down sort of about 60%. As you can see there, straight away much more medievally looking stonework there, and as such. Okay, now what do we want on that? Well, it's a well. There's a lot of water around, so let's have a look in my folder here, and we'll see if we can find. We'll go to nature. We've got moss. Let's find some moss. We'll add some creeping moss. So we'll drag that into Substance Painter, and as you can see, it opens up a dialog here, and we'll define that as a base material, and we will have this in this project only. and import it. And as you see, it appears down here. Let's drag it on and see what happens. Whoa, that's completely covered it. Don't worry about that. First things first, I just want to change a few parameters in here. Moss, I think that moss is a bit too bright, so let's bring the colour down a bit. Just bring it down, sort of, there we go. And a lot more grunge. Give it more grunge, that'll do. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to create another black mask within the black mask over the top of the moss. And then if we go down here, we will find smart masks. And in the smart masks, we have a nice little mask called ground dirt. Now what this does is you put it onto the layer, layer with the mask, and it will create a dirt layer out of the moss, starting from the ground up and fading. Okay, so what I want to do is, let's have a look at the grunge. I want to bring the balance down a little bit, and the contrast about the same. Invert. Yeah, maybe about there. Okay, in the mask editor, what I'll need to do is I'll need to bring that down. So there's only down the bottom, so there's a lot less of it. And you see how that blends in much more? And it's mostly at the bottom, so from a bit further away, if you look at it, it doesn't go all the way up. Now obviously, moss doesn't just stick to the bottom of things, it goes on top of things as well. So what we will do is we will duplicate by right clicking the layer and selecting duplicate, and with this we'll go into the mask editor and we will invert the mask. Whoa. Now what we need to do is bring the balance right up and bring it right the way up, so we now have moss just on the top. There we go, we have our stone. I think that looks quite good. May just put another layer inside there of dirt. Let's have a look. So we will create a fill layer. And that'll go over the top of that with a black mask. And this time we will right click the fill layer and we will add a generator. And we have a click on the generator here, we can choose dirt, and this will create out of that a bit of dirt. Obviously it's the wrong color, I need to make it black or dark brown, but for now, so we can see where it's going, we can leave it as white. So then what we can do is we can adjust the dirt level and bring it in just a bit, maybe increase the contrast a little bit. Now if we go back to the material, we can click on the base color and we can switch it to dynamic so we can see what we're doing. I want to change it, we want it a nice dark brown sort of color in there. So we've got the dirt just in these areas here. As you can see, just darkens these areas up here. It's a bit like ambient occlusion. I think that looks good. Must remember to save this. Give it a quick save. Right, on to the next area, and we will close that folder up and we'll create another folder. And for some reason Substance Painter likes to add things into folders even if you haven't got them selected. I don't know why, so we just drag that back up so it's outside of that folder. And this folder, I'm going to again go to my materials, and these are all the materials I've collected over time. Go to wood, we go to bare wood, and one of my favourites is this old knotty wood, and we'll drag that in there. Base material, project, import, and then again we will drop that into this folder. Now we might have to make some alterations to this, and we might have to actually have two versions of it with different black masks because of the directions. We'll see. Now, I know this one is a bit heavy on the height, so we're going to switch the height off, and as you can see, that makes a huge difference there. And we're going to rotate by 90 degrees. And I think the scale is a little bit big on that, so I'm going to put that to 3. And I'd say that was about right. So what we'll do is we'll check these pieces here just to make sure, and there we go. This is what I was talking about, because they're in different places on the UV map. I think I didn't turn that one round. It's an easy job to do, so what we'll do is we'll create a black mask. I'm going to make sure it's on mesh fill, and click, 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 oops, click, click, and I think I'll have it on this one as well. Yes, we'll have that on that one. And then we just duplicate it. Click a duplicate, and we will clear that mask. And then again, we will click on that one, go to the material itself, and we'll revert that back to 0. And as you can see, that has now changed, and it's the right direction. So let's take a look. I know it looks very clean and nice right now, but there's a few things we can do about it. We can turn on the aging, and we can don't do much. I'm looking at the wrong one, aren't I? There we go. We go turn on the aging, and let's bring that right up. That darkens it a bit there, and then we can add the dirt and quite a bit of intensity there. Why is that? That aging doesn't look very good, does it? Does not look very good. Okay, bring in the dirt, and we'll darken that. Here we have this saturation. Let's bring the saturation down a little bit. And let's see if we can bring down the color. There we go. As you can see, there's lots of different adjustments you can make on this. And there we go. That's much better. And I think with that knot's too big. So let's put this on triplanar projection. There we go, much better. But now we have these going different ways. So what we do is let's delete this one. We'll delete this one, and we'll go to this mask. And if we press X, that will switch that to black. We can then click on these and remove them from the selection. Just want to check this one. No. So let's duplicate this layer again. Where's duplicate? There it is. And we will put that on 0 rotation. It's on triplanar. We will clear this mask. Press X to get it back to white, and click it on there. It's not quite right. I think triplanar for this angle isn't very good, so if I go back to there and switch on UV projection, again it's not working on there. So easy to fix. Press X, get rid of these 3, and we'll duplicate this layer again. It's all trial and error. And clear the mask, and we'll select, press X, and select these. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so we've selected those. And we will change the rotation to 90. And there we have it. Here are our beams all nicely painted. We'll change that and call that beams. And now let's work on the roof piece. So create another folder and we'll call it the roof. I'm going to put a black mask on there and I'm going to select each of these pieces here. You won't see anything change because there's no material in there. But if I go down to here and search for cabin, there's a nice little texture there. Of course, I didn't click them all, so there we go. Of course, that's all over the place there. So what we will do is we'll take that and we'll change it to triplanar. And there you go. Lovely. We will remove the height from that because it's a little bit intense, that. Yeah, very intense. And let's give it a bit more scale. I think that looks good, don't you? And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to press X on this piece here. I'm going to go back down to the beams. Take the first one, I think. And nope. And there we go. Yeah, I think that looks better. Excellent. Now let's go back to the roof and take a look at this material here. Let's see if I change some generation, wood chip scales, knobs, control, wood age. Let's see what happens if I do this. Or I can bring it right up so it's nice and dark, or I can bring it right down so it's nice. Let's bring it up to about there. And the grain force, let's have a look at the grain force. Saturation. Ooh, just bring the saturation down slightly. Give it more of a grey to it. There we go. I think that looks good. And there we have all of our wood done. Close up this folder here. Now let's have a look at this metal bar. Let's create a folder for that. Bring it to the top there. And there, I think we have an iron or a steel with rust. So let's, yes, there is still rust. I'm going to drop that into that folder there. Ooh, everything's covered. Create a black mask. Click on that area there. Let's see if we can change the parameters in this still. It doesn't look very rusty to me. Let's see what happens. Surface imperfections. Bring up some surface imperfections. See what difference that makes. Doesn't seem to help. Dirt intensity. Oh, brings in a bit of dirt. Or contrast. Dirt scale. And rust intensity, let's bring the rust intensity out, and there we have it. Nice bit of rust, make it nice and rusty. And there, you see a nice rusty metal bar and cogs on the end there. And let's add this piece in as well. So now, excellent, looking good to me. Right, now the rope. Now this is a little bit of a tricky one. Trying to get the rope to follow the loops correctly. So first things first, let's create a folder and we'll call it rope. And surprisingly, it seems to be very random, the folder is outside of the other folders. Again, let's have a look in our folders here. So go back to there, under cloth. There should be a rough rope. There we go. We'll bring it in as base material in the current project and import that. And let's just drag that into this folder. There we go. Ooh, it's all over the place there, look. Okay, first things first, let's add a black mask. This one and this one. So let's make some changes. Now I know the caps of this are not going to be the same as the other, so I'm going to create 2 copies of that. Duplicate that, and I'm going to create a black mask and a black mask on that. And in this first one, I'm going to, with this area here, this one here is the UV chunk fill. It will only, if I click on it now, it will only fill the area that is UV on that area of the UV. These areas won't be filled because they're separate UVs. So if I click on that now, they won't be filled, which is exactly what I want. And I will click on that as well. So now let's work out how we can adjust the parameters in this. Let's try planar. That's a little bit better. Or is it? Rotation. And scale. We want a high scale. Oh, maybe not that big. Let's try UV projection. That's it. We want 180. Of course, we can adjust this however we want, whichever's easier. I'd say about there should do it. Yep, that looks good to me. And again, this one here with the same UV chunk fill, we want to hit this area and this area. And notice that's good enough for me. It's not something that's going to be looked at a lot. I might even look at that. Yeah, it's only one. Yeah, that would do me. It's not something that's going to be highly visible. It looks good enough. So over the top of that, I'm going to then add another fill layer, create a black mask, and add a generator. And just to disguise it a little bit more, give it some dirt. And we want dirt level a bit lower. Sort of about that. That should do it. And then what we'll do is we'll change this to a dark brown colour. Right, and there we go. Let's just focus that. We have our model painted. Let's just do a quick render to see how it would look rendered nicely. And I think that's come out quite well. You've got variations of wood, have a nice little stone material, although the pattern is a little bit more uniform. I think maybe in future, if I was to do this model again, I would probably forego the high detail model and use a stone brick texture of some sort, mainly because they have more variation, although I could spend some more time varying on the high poly model. It's a 6 of one and half a dozen of the other situation, but I think it's come out pretty well. And so let's see how it looks in Blender. So what we want to do now is we want to export the textures. So we'll go to File, Export Textures, and now this will take me a second to work out, because this has changed since I last used Substance Painter. This is the 2020 version. I've been using the 2019 version, and this has changed slightly, but it does look like it's mostly in the right places. So let's have a look. First things first, we want to choose an output directory. So I'm just going to go onto my desktop, and I'm going to create a new folder and call it Stonewell. And then click on that and select that as my folder. Output template. This is the type of output that you want. There's a lot of templates here, and if you go into the Outlook templates, you can actually go through them and see what they consist of. For this one, I'm going to go into the PBR metallic roughness, and I'm going to do a quick copy of this and duplicate that. And in that duplicate, what I'm going to do, I'm going to find the normal map. Where is the normal map? There's the normal map. And I noticed that that's a normal DirectX. Now Blender is OpenGL, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to clear that channel. I'm going to find normal OpenGL, and I'm going to drag that into there and into the RBG channels. So now when I go onto the output template, I can do the copy. I'm going to output in PNG 8 bits, that's fine. Size, we'll do 2048. Padding, this chooses what type of padding you have. Dilation infinite means that the whole texture is dilated. Every gap in between each UV island is dilated, and this basically it's like a bleed of the texture. It's to stop on the seams of objects, little artifacts where you don't quite get texture sometimes. It's quite important, but you don't need it infinite. You can have a dilation plus transparent, so that will be it'll have a dilation area around each island, and then the rest is transparent. Default background color, or the diffuse background color. I'll leave it on dilation infinite. It doesn't really matter for us in this, and that's all set. We've got our path, and now we click export, and it will export all of our textures into that folder, and it looks like it's finished. In the earlier versions of Substance Painter, what I hesitated about just then was the earlier versions of Substance Painter, it comes up with a box that says it's completed and to click OK, but for some reason 20 doesn't do that. So we just close out of that, and we make sure we save. Let's save that, and we'll exit that. Okay, and now let's see if I can find the... Oop, come on, where are you? Current project, medieval project files, files. No, it's not there. What did I do with it? Oh yes, it's in there. So I've lost the file. There we go. We'll just load the model up in Blender. And there we go. As you can see, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the high poly, and I'm going to bring the low poly out. And as you can see, it's got the Stonewell there. If I go to the shading tab, now this is a little trick with textures, with PBR textures. If you go to edit preferences, load the preferences onto the add-ons page and search for Node Wrangler and tick that box and then save it. You can now click on the procedural BSDF node just here and press Control, Shift and T to open up a dialog. Let's go to the desktop and we go to Stonewell, and here are our textures. If I click on Shift click all of them and click Principal Texture Setup, something goes wrong. It would appear that I have an error. Let's try that again. No, it doesn't seem to be working. Interesting, let's have a look. I seem to have an error with my Node Wrangler there. Go desktop, Stonewell. No, that doesn't seem to be working, so I'll just press Control T and that will create a texture. We'll open desktop, Stonewell, and there's that, and this we will Shift D, duplicate this, and attach that to the roughness, the metallic, sorry, and we will open up the metallic. We'll change that to non-color, connect that to the metallic, and Shift D that, connect that to the roughness, change that to roughness, and Shift D that, and if I press Shift A and search for a normal map, put that there, and that goes into there and into the normal there, and that should give its normal direction. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be working. I might have the wrong. Oh no, because I've got it non-color, that's why. I've got it on color. Silly boy. It still doesn't seem to have worked very well. That's better, I think. I think that the roughness seems to be. I've got a feeling that I cut out the wrong one. Okay, we seem to have an issue with the roughness, so I'm going to put that away for now. I'm going to bring the roughness right up. Okay, And there we have it. That's it. Oh, there we have it. That's our well, all nicely textured. Anyway, sorry about the little confusion at the end there. I got a bit distracted because for some reason my Node Wrangler does not.
I don't know that one.
And there's Alexa button in as well. She doesn't know either. Okay, it looks like my Node Wrangler's not working for some reason. I'll have to investigate why that's working, but I've got most of the textures on there working now, and as you can see, you've got all the detail in there. You've got the different types of wood, you've got the rope and the metal there. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I hope this was useful, and again, I apologise for the last bit there. That threw me a little bit when Node Wrangler stopped working. It might be because I've recently updated. If you like the content and want to see more of it, hit the like and the subscribe button. And again, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.